Hey, what's up, guys? Back again with a new motorcycle to review. It's a 2022 CFMoto CLX 700 Heritage. These bikes are already available in Asia, Europe, Australia, and finally they've been released to us here in the United States of America. As I said, this is the Heritage version. The 700 also comes in a sport version with some more upgrades. I will have a video on the 700 Sport later on here, so stay tuned. The Heritage retails for $6,499 MSRP. That includes a 2-year factory warranty. The motor is a 693cc parallel twin that claims 74 horsepower and 48 foot-pounds of torque. It's the same motor that's in the 650 NK and the 650 Adventura, except the piston diameter is larger, giving it the larger displacement, and it is a pretty large noticeable difference. The suspension on this bike is produced by KYB and is fully adjustable forks and shock. It has a 6-speed transmission with a slipper clutch, Bosch electronic fuel injection, and 2-channel ABS by Continental. Average fuel consumption is 57 miles per gallon, and the tank holds 3.4 gallons. LED lights all the way around, and the front headlight includes an X theme, which goes with the rest of the bike. The real big differences between the 650 NK and 650 Adventura is that this bike actually has a ride-by-wire throttle, and it also includes electronic cruise control. Unlike all the other CFMoto motorcycles, this bike has opted for a single disc in the front. It is very large though, 320 millimeters. Just like most of the other CFMoto motorcycles, the brakes were made by Juan. Alright, I'm sure you guys are actually tired of hearing specs by now. Anybody can look those up. Let's get this thing out on the street, put it to the test. Let me see how it feels, and I'll give you my opinion. Let's get straight to the nitty-gritty here. We want to try out this one-touch cruise control system, since it sounds incredible. Let's set the cruise control and take our hand off the bar here, and let's see how far we can go. We're currently set at 50 miles per hour, and this zone is 45. There's one cruise control button on the left, and below that is a set button, which allows you to set the speed you want to set the cruise control at. Pretty easy, just like a car. Actually, it's easier than a car. I'm just going to try to balance myself without ever touching the handlebar here, just to prove how good this thing works. There is a resume button, just like a car or truck also. So if you turn the cruise control off and you want to resume where you were left at, there is that button. If you give it more or less throttle or hit the brakes, it will disengage these cruise control automatically. From what I noticed, you have to be at least in 4th gear to activate the cruise control. There is a little cruise control light on the dash, and it went green, flashed green as soon as I hit 4th gear, but below that it was still orange and wouldn't let me engage the cruise control. That's probably a good thing, because I'm sure some people would try using it in stop and go traffic. Alright, well, we're still balancing, and we got a stop sign coming up, so let's disengage the cruise control here. I absolutely love the cruise control on this bike, and it makes it actually a blast to ride. It will be great for longer trips. It actually has me looking into cruise control for my MT-09. So another crazy thing this bike has is self-canceling turn signals, and I rode this thing for a while without even realizing that. And one of my coworkers rode this bike for a couple of days without realizing that the turn signals were self-canceling. I really thought that the buttons were not working correctly when activating the turn signal, because you never felt like a notch, and it was difficult to shut them off. You had to press the button kind of into the middle there, and it didn't want to shut the turn signal off. It was very odd. But as soon as I found out they were actually self-canceling, I started to play around with the whole system, and it actually started to work pretty good. So I read that some people thought that they canceled too early. I was always kind of paying attention to the dash there, making sure my turn signal was still on before I made the turn or completed the turn. If you put your turn signal on while you're sitting at a light, it will stay blinking until you do turn. I don't know exactly how the self-cancellation process works for the turn signal, but majority of the time it did work correctly, and I can say that it is way better than accidentally leaving your turn signal on for a couple miles. This bike doesn't come with the full color TFT display like some of the other CFMoto bikes do. I do like the theme of the display. It does fit this bike well. There are some settings that I wanted to change and could not figure out how. The general display and look of it were actually clean, and you could read everything easily. All of the ergonomics seem very well. The handlebar position is comfortable. The seat is not bad at all. It is one of the better seats I've ridden on from CFMoto. The foot peg, brake pedal, and shifter position is all very good and comfortable. I am 6 foot. That way you guys have a comparison. The clutch pull is super easy, similar to all the other CFMoto bikes I've rode. And the brakes are actually surprisingly good. The J1 setup. Like I said, this one is a single 320mm front disc. I thought they would have went with a dual setup, but this one works just fine. I'm actually a huge fan of this 700cc motor. This is the motor they should put in the 650 NK and the 650 Adventure. Definitely what it should come with. It's not overly aggressive to the point where it would scare a lot of guys, but it has enough power everywhere. You can actually ride a gear taller in corners, and it has enough torque to pull you out. Mid-range to wide open is where this motor actually excels though. It almost feels like you hit a power band and the thing just takes off. There is a large noticeable difference in the bottom end power between this 700 motor and the 650 motor. The overall handling on the bike is very good. It can carve any twisty you throw at it. Coupled with the brake system, you can definitely hold yourself in any corner. Suspension is stiff enough that you actually feel planted and not loose and wallowy throughout corners and bumps. The suspension is adjustable on the front and rear, so you have some clickers that you can play with the compression and rebound to get it to your liking. I was a little skeptical about the tire choice when first looking at the motorcycle. The stock tires on the bike are Pirelli MT60s, which have a more aggressive, blocky pattern. They never felt like they were lacking grip though. They always hooked up, especially in the nice tight twisties. I didn't mean to take this road. If you look at it, it's freshly ground down. We're going to eventually repave it here, but the road was very rough. On a normal high-performance tire on this, you'd be feeling a lot more of all the bumps and a ton of vibration since the road is ground down. This bike felt like it was still on a freshly paved road. It was really surprising and actually made the ride more enjoyable on this crappy road. I didn't feel any vibration problems at highway speeds either. So I rode 2 up for a small portion on this bike, and the passenger did not complain about this small seat, surprisingly. One complaint she did have was she felt there was some added vibration in the passenger pegs compared to all the other bikes. I do wish the 650 Adventura actually came with these tires. They are surprisingly good. If you try hard enough in first gear, you can't get this thing to wheelie. I had a pretty good one going in a parking lot when I first got the bike. CFMoto equipped this bike with Eco and Sport modes like the rest. The Eco mode feels really crisp, and your beginner will love Eco mode. The Sport mode, which I rode it in most of the time, definitely felt like it had a lot more up top, and the throttle was a lot more sensitive. The LED lights on this bike are pretty nice. They're definitely bright, that way you can be seen. I felt like the headlight could have been just a tad brighter when you did use the high beams. The high beam switch is on the front hand side of the left hand handlebar switch. You can pull that switch in to quickly flash somebody, or you can flick the switch forward to keep your high beams on. The bike has a bit of an electronic sound to it, but it's not as bad as it seems. The mic must be picking up just a little bit extra, possibly road noise. Let's really test the acceleration of this bike and start from zero. Not too shabby. Like I said before, I'm a huge fan of this 700 motor. I think I had one little hiccup there, doing about 80, trying to shift while wide open. It seemed like it took a little bit more force to get it to upshift. I've had a ton of questions on the other CFMoto videos asking if the transmission feels funky. I'm used to riding a Yamaha MT-09, which has probably one of the worst, funkiest transmissions out there. I've not had any problem shifting on the CFMoto bike. The gearbox is no worse than the MT-09, and it's only going to break in more. These bikes are brand new and really haven't even been broken in. The more the gears mesh and polish themselves together over time, I can only see the transmission getting smoother. I had zero problems finding neutral, which I have all the time on my MT-09. After the engine break-in procedure, I would switch to a full synthetic motorcycle oil, which will help the longevity of the motor and also smooth the shifting. Overall, this bike is really great bang for your buck. I mean, you are getting electronic cruise control, self-canceling turn signals, a great middleweight motor that can do anything. It's great for beginners, when it's also good that experienced riders can also still have fun on it. It has KYB adjustable suspension on it, and it seems like it's a really great spec for the bike that it is on. For $6,500 US, this is a hard deal to not pass up. You guys have any other questions about what I thought of the bike or specs on the bike? Leave a comment and I will be sure to answer them. Make sure you like the video and give a subscribe for more. Thanks guys, I'm out.